People with ADHD, what is something you do that you thought everyone else did, but found out it's because you have ADHD? Stare at people and try to focus very hard on what they're saying only to realize a whole whopping zero meaning is going into my brain despite understanding each word individually. Gotta love how you become so focused on making sure you're actually focusing on what they're saying that you forget to actually listen. Like, yeah, I am 100% focused on you. I am looking at you and hearing every single word you're saying, but actually comprehending? Well, I'm afraid that might be asking a little too much. I would be trying so hard to focus and maintain eye contact and end up focusing on the color pattern of their eye color or lashes. Either these things are normal, or I have ADHD. One reason it's important to be assessed by a specialist: a lot of these symptoms overlap other disorders, and most of these symptoms have been experienced by neurotypical people, just not at the rate people with ADHD experience them. Basically this. Normal people experience all these things to a degree, but when you get out of the normal range is when you are looking at ADHD. Like you forget your keys? Sure, everyone does that sometimes, but if you forget your keys multiple times per week even after setting up a system to not forget your keys, it could be ADHD. Hyper-focus on a hobby for a few months? Sure, everyone has that honeymoon phase with a hobby, but if you go through one every few weeks and then drop it forever, it could be ADHD. If you think this sounds too familiar, talk to your doctor. Apparently being sleepy from coffee. Thinking about other things while reading. I could read a whole page of a textbook, like say all the words in my head, but I wouldn't process any of the information because my mind was elsewhere. Had to reread the page a few times cause I kept spacing out while doing it. Wait a fucking second, reading something over and over isn't what everyone does? What medicine do you take to make you focus? Will it work if I try it just once to see if it makes a difference? Before you get medicine, please get diagnosed. I take stimulants for ADHD, but for people without ADHD, the same stimulants I take would have a completely different effect. Things like what the original comment said are fairly common and most people have experienced it, but when you have ADHD it is more extreme and has a large effect on your focus. Stop and subconsciously zone out or let my vision blur for a few secs. Sitting in my car, because it's hard for me to transition. Look for dopamine everywhere, or even if there's nothing around me I'll start making up random word games so I'm not bored. I read this sitting in my car, because I don't want to get out to go inside. Is this for real? I've sat in my car for upwards to 15 minutes in the past. 15 minutes? I've done over an hour quite a few times. For me it's the bathroom. I'll go sit on top of the toilet lid while brushing my teeth with plenty of time to get showered and out the door for work, then next thing you know I'm late for work and haven't even showered yet. About 2 to 3 minutes before you reach destination in car, turn off music/audio and even the air. First, feel the silence. Then in your head play through the first few steps of what's gonna happen when you leave the car. I'm 43, and I was diagnosed with ADHD 2 months ago, after months of tests. I started taking Adderall, and as of yesterday I reached my max steady dose. I am absolutely shocked at the changes. So much of my daily normal turned out to be ADHD. Some examples. I have always felt like there was a fog in my brain. Memory, intelligence, speech, focus, motivation, they were all lost in this fog. The fog was so thick I sometimes felt that I could physically see it. Since I've been medicated, it feels like the fog is just gone. Energy. Oof, energy. I have literally been tired my entire life. Wake up? Tired. Coffee? Tired. Doing stuff I really enjoy? Tired. My therapist explained that my brain was working overtime just to compensate for the ADHD. Since I started my meds, I take almost no naps. This was a daily constant before. I wake up feeling rested, and I don't constantly fantasize about crawling under my work desk and just zonking out. Memory. OMG, I can remember things. Last week someone asked me who to contact for XYZ issue, and I had only met that person once, a few days prior, in a meeting with 40 people, and I remembered his goddamn name. I grew up being taught that mental illness didn't exist, and that medication was just an excuse for weakness. To this day, my mother still gives me a hard time for medicating my son, diagnosed ADHD 10 years ago. She specifically taught me that ADHD was just something teachers made up so they could dope kids into submission. My diagnosis, and the medication, is literally changing my life. 43 years believing I was just lazy, that if I were a better human, I'd achieve more. I still managed to land a high-paying job which I've had for 20 years, but for the first time I feel like I deserve that job, that I am not just an imposter waiting to be exposed as a lazy fraud. I feel free. Sorry for the long post, but I am currently very emotional about this subject. If you made it this far, thank you for sharing my journey with me. ETA, I was approached by a coworker recently who expressed his appreciation for my openness on the topics of mental health and meds. It surprised me at first, but on reflection I realized that just because I've dropped my stigmas, does not mean that all of society has followed suit. Talking about this has helped me, and hopefully society can normalize that openness so more people don't suffer in silence. Edit number 2. I've gotten quite a few responses from people telling me how much this resonates. I am so gratified to know that I have brothers and sisters in arms, fighting the same battle. But I find it deeply troubling that a person like me, with the emotional intelligence of wet cabbage, should be the only source of this kind of discussion. How are we not talking about this more? How have I become the holder of this secret information? Please, everyone, do me and everyone like us a favor, take the discussion to others. Mental health is too much of a taboo, and that needs to end. I also want to add, my story above makes it sound like Adderall is a miracle drug. It helped me, and it feels like a miracle to me, but I don't want to give anyone false hope. There is still work involved. You don't just change your bad habits overnight. You must be committed to the process. You must give yourself permission to fail, and you absolutely must be willing to work hard. For me, Adderall lifted the fog, but that only showed me the road. I still had to make the choice to walk down it. Thank you to all who expressed your support. You showed me that I need to take this story to a bigger platform, and I will. Please share your stories with anyone who will listen. We need to normalize the discussion. Hyper-focusing on something for hours without realizing, then immediately losing interest in it either because of a distraction or sudden inexplicable boredom. Or because you realize you have been sitting in a super uncomfortable position for 11 hours with no food or water. Now you are dehydrated, hungry, and your back hurts. But that super useless thing you were doing is 97% done. The last 3% can wait till, never? Yeah, this is me, especially with gaming. I can binge a game for 30 hours straight, and then not touch it in several years. I have not played games in a long time, so when my wife was supportive for our daughter wanting to be a race sim driver, I bought a high-end gaming rig. Aside from the games for my daughter, I made a list of all the games I wanted to play. I spent a couple of days downloading them all. Have not played any. This is what always happens with hobby. I have. Maybe it won't be a problem if it doesn't cost much money. So I'll find new hobby, buy a bunch of stuff to support it, use it several times, and abandon it. I have to enter things in the calendar on my phone immediately, or I will completely forget. If we mention in a meeting that we're going to have another meeting Thursday at 4, I can't wait till after the meeting to put it on my calendar. I have to do it right then, and include setting a notification for a day ahead of time. Same. And I check my calendar and cross-reference emails almost obsessively because I feel like I still could have been wrong when inputting the info. Forget things when you don't constantly think about it. Edit, crap, I was not expecting my ADHD to give me 95% of my karma, thank you guys. Yeah, also interrupting people, because you need to tell something before you forget it. This is a problem. Then I seem rude, but I'm not really trying to be. And if I don't say it, then I get focused on my thought and I don't hear what the person is saying anyhow. I get the squirrel thing a lot. Trying to work on this. The constant talking in my head even when I try to sleep. Or the talking to myself and have full-on convo with myself in my head. I only realized recently that the reason people tell me I was told something that I don't at all remember is because my internal monologue was going on and I probably thought it was more interesting than the external conversation, so focused solely on the monologue or fantasy of the day or moment and didn't pay attention. Singing the same lyric over and over again to the point that you sing it out loud every waking moment. I get this when I'm stressed. If I wake up with the same song in my head that I went to bed with, it means I'm having a really hard time. Currently struggling with one that is looping endlessly on me. This is how my husband knows if I've forgotten my meds. Constantly forgetting why I'm in that room. Moving back and forth between tasks. OMG. I have to constantly repeat why I have to be in this room over and over in my head, or else I will get there and loudly ask myself, why am I here? Instantly forgetting stuff if I can't see it, but having an extremely chaotic, nonsensical filing system. Like, I just found out I had a box of mac and cheese after buying a new one, but I know my passport is in between the picture of my friend Phil and a drawing I made at work, underneath the 2019 tax documents, which is in the second drawer that also has gift ribbons and dental bibs. Because obviously that's where it is. I always figured people who organized their things by taxonomic category were just being weird. See also, forgetting to eat, being frozen by the prospect of seemingly easy tasks, getting bored of something I was obsessed with like the day before. Same. My wife got so frustrated with me over this. Come to find out, when she wants to find something, her mind works like it has an artificial reality set built in and she can see where she left something, and for me it's a black screen. I want superpowers too. It's annoying to have to need an anchor object or location to remember where something is. Being extremely distracted or annoyed by little noises that no one else seems to notice. The worst is when there are multiple conversations going on at the same time. I don't want to be disrespectful, and I'm genuinely interested in what you're trying to tell me, but for some reason I'm not able to not focus on the person speaking loudly at the table next to us, to a point where I'm not even able to complete my own sentences. Time blindness. Anything beyond 15 minutes is a shot in the dark, an educated guess at best. I'm always way too early for everything, but I suppose that's better than being late. Not being able to remember what I just read when I turn over to the next page, having racing thoughts, being distracted by anything and everything, not remembering to do basic tasks, such as brushing teeth or eating at appropriate times, being both restless and exhausted at the same time, not remembering people or places. I'm also autistic, so there are probably overlaps. Really having to restrain myself to not interrupt people. And people calling you rude or self-absorbed or narcissistic if you don't hold your tongue, because no one else gets the overwhelming urge to impulsively speak all the time that we get. When someone doesn't finish their sentence fast enough, and all you want to do is say it for them to hurry them up so you can talk again. It took me a long time to teach myself to just wait for them and not try to guess what they're going to say. Thank you very much for watching. In the comments below the video, people with ADHD write, what is something you do that you thought everyone else did but found out it's because you have ADHD? Also, don't forget to like and share this video with your friends. See you later.